Hey, it's never too early to talk about Ole Miss versus Florida. Brandon Olsen's in the house. We're going to talk about that game at the end of the year. This is a crossover edition of the Locked On Ole Miss and Locked On Gators podcast.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Okay, that's a unique intro. That's the first time I've seen that one. All right.
Same.
Steven Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, Brandon Olsen from the Locked On Gators podcast. And yes, I realize that Ole Miss and Florida does not play until the next to the last conference game of the year, but it was the game that ruined Ole Miss's season last year. It was the game that got completely upside down. So I figured, why not start with Brandon Olsen and get that over with? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. Looking forward to this game again. It's going to be real fun if Billy's moving as confident, if that carries over. Going to be real fun, Billy versus Lane part 2.
Yeah, it should be interesting. And not only that, honestly, it's Austin Simmons versus Florida. That is kind of a big deal as well because Austin, listen, he's the most hyped quarterback in Oxford, Mississippi since Eli Manning, if we're going to be honest about it. Going into his first start, nobody can wait to see exactly what that player does.
Yeah, Austin, there's a couple recruiting things here. You guys also have Prince Willem on Mielin, who Prince Lee's little brother. And when Prince Lee was at Florida, was trying to get Florida to recruit Prince Will, and they weren't really feeling him. So I would imagine Prince Will is going to roll into this one with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, rightfully so. And yes, of course, Austin Simmons was a one-time Gator commit that went to Ole Miss, reclassified, whole bunch of fun stuff. But I was really looking forward to him when he was a Gator commit.
Yeah, he's already graduated from college at 19. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you look at that guy's story and just dig into it, it's phenomenal. He hadn't even started a college game. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore. He's graduated from college.
It's insane. I'm surprised he wasn't graduated by the time he enrolled. Honestly, like the rate that he was moving through his academic career, it's incredible that he's doing it at such a young age and that he's got if he can live up to the expectations because obviously there's a ton of hype you mentioned. If he can live up to those expectations while doing what he's doing academically, that's going to be truly just amazing to see. Just someone so young excel academically and athletically is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I interviewed him. Heck, I've interviewed him a couple of times, but one of the times on the show, I asked him specifically about the Florida game and what that meant. You could see the face kind of light up just a little bit there where he wants to have the game against the Florida Gators to go back to the people in the muck down in Pahokee and say, see, I told you.
Yeah, and he also gets to do it after Jackson Dart couldn't. Like if he does win the game, he gets to do that when Jackson Dart couldn't do it. One of the most productive quarterbacks, a first-round pick, and he would be able to be like, all right, well, I did it my first year starting. Jackson didn't. So there's a lot for Austin Simmons on this one. That's going to be one of those games where you kind of see how he performs. You're like, all right, he's rising to the occasion or not.
Yeah. And on the flip side of it is the DJ Lagway story, which he went to SEC Media Days. And he did the joke about, messing around with his shoulder and all of that. Because for those that don't know, I live in the Tampa viewing area. And one of the stories that's been popping on Tampa TV pretty consistently for the last 6 months has been the health of DJ Lagway and whether or not they missed a window for his surgery and all of that stuff. What are you hearing about DJ?
That he's fine, that he's good to go. That's what it's been. I've also been someone that even while, he wasn't participating in spring practices fully, I never really bought that he wasn't doing something, just that media wasn't available because media doesn't really get to see a ton of practice in the spring or anything like that. And so I was always of the belief that, hey, I think he's doing things just not on camera and they're just kind of keeping it secret. I don't know why I don't follow it, but it's just the way that he was moving, the way that he was operating. We saw workout clips of him doing push-ups, pull-ups, and a whole bunch of exercises where I'm just like that. I don't think you'd be doing those things if the shoulder was a genuine major concern. And then once spring wraps up, Billy's like, yeah, no, Lagway is going to be throwing any time now. And then, of course, clips start coming out of Lagway just ripping it. And it's like, all right, well, that doesn't look like it's your first day throwing if you're just coming out there and letting it rip right away. So I never really bought into the hype around the injury. I don't think he was, perfectly healthy the whole time, but I've never really bought into the hype of the injury. But I know for a fact he's going. He's going. He's out there working with multiple different trainers, moving around, and yeah, I think that DJ Lagway now fully ready to go, and I'm not concerned about it at all. I was also told in the spring when he was so injured that he couldn't practice that they're like, hey, if there's a game today, he'd be playing in it. It's just as simple as that. They're just being cautious with it.
Sounds like a lot like Lane Kiffin, and maybe Billy Napier learned that from Nick Saban, to where whenever media is out there, people that are, quote, injured will be off the field that the media can't even see them. But as soon as the media is gone, the players are allowed back. They come back in and everything goes to plan. Yeah, it should be pretty interesting what's going on. Florida's got a brutal schedule this year, though. My goodness. I mean, the Long Island Sharks, my goodness.
Juggernaut program. Another year of just a juggernaut to open the year. It was Utah, Miami, and now LIU. When will it end?
Yeah, I'm serious. Whenever I saw that, I was like, I did not even know that they had a team. I have not heard of them other than the NCAA basketball tournament. And apparently they are the Sharks. And honestly, let's just talk about this for a second. What would be an acceptable score line against LIU in that game?
I'm going to say you got to win that game by at least like 30-35, right? Like that's going to be, but we've also not really seen Billy. I mean, they destroyed Samford. But we've not really seen Billy start a year against an FCS program. So I don't know if he's just going to be like, hey, we're just going to be really vanilla and keep it simple. I hope not. I hope he just emptied the clip on him. And I've said before, like I think he did this because I'm from New York and I talked a lot of trash last year. And I think Billy, because LIU wasn't on the schedule previously. And so I think that Billy was like, you know what? Give me a New York team. Like I need to just pummel something from New York. In which case I'll take the sacrifice. And I live an hour and a half from LIU Brookville. And I also wasn't super aware of their football team. And I live an hour and a half away. Knew the basketball team, which is LIU Brooklyn, same LIU. It's really weird. But yeah, I think you got to win that game by at least 30-35. And I say that just because I do think that Billy's the type where he's not known for, kind of sweeping the leg. He's known for being like, all right, we got the lead. Let's just get out of here healthy. We got a long schedule, grueling schedule. Let's just walk out here. That's
a game to where, at what point does DJ Lagway need to be out of it? Midway through third quarter?
I don't want him playing in the second half. I don't want him doing that. I'd let him get his throws off, let him get his highlight reel, let him pop off a little bit, and then get him the hell out of there. Just call it a day.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. All right, we'll continue talking with Brandon about the 2025 schedule. We'll get into Ole Miss and Florida a little bit as well as we go on. But first, I do want to tell you about Monarch Money. With Monarch Money, you can grow your savings. And if you're planning on a big purchase, Monarch actually puts you in the driver's seat. It makes managing your money feel easy. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you the full visibility and control over your financing. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. Brandon, the first thing I noticed after joining Monarch was how much money I was wasting eating out or having food delivered. I figured I was going to get a plaque from DoorDash or something like that. And Monarch was able to help me clean that up. What has Monarch done for you?
It was the takeout for me. So we order all the time. So we order all the time there. I said out, and so now he thinks that we're going out. And so for me, it was takeout as well. We order all the time, and usually you can do the whole like, well, if I don't check my bank account, then I don't know, and it doesn't hurt. Monarch doesn't let you do that. They hold you accountable for being irresponsible there.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, Brandon. We've made the jokes about Long Island and all that, but the schedule for Florida it's like it was made by a Florida State grad. A game at Miami, all the non-conference stuff. There's still the Florida State game, and they're going to be better this year. They were hot garbage last year, but they're going to be better this year. What's the most important game for the Florida Gators that you just want to see early? And at what point, if you win that game, will you know that, okay, we have a chance here?
I think the Miami game is a huge one, just because of how last year happened. Starting the year, everybody was hyped, and then it very quickly got out of hand. I was at the Senior Bowl this past January, and one of the Miami players that were there, we were talking, and I mentioned that I covered Florida, and I'm a lifelong Florida Gators fan, and he was just like, "Hey, so let me ask, at what point did you just give up hope?" And so it was like, I was like, all right, that was really aggressive. I'm going to tank your draft grade. So it was, for me, Miami 41-17 at home at the Swamp to open it up the year. It was just awful. I was front row for that whooping. I hated it. And so I think Miami's a big game as far as figuring out immediately, the toughness of this team. I know a lot of people are going to say week 3, the week before the Miami game, is at LSU. It's a night game, 7:30 Eastern time. Baton Rouge is rocking. I think that Death Valley at night is a top 3 atmosphere in college football. It doesn't get much better than that. It doesn't get much tougher than that if you're the road team. And Texas, I think, last year also you got decimated by Texas. I know DJ Lagway wasn't there, and that's what everybody wants to talk about, but you were also missing 4 contributors from the secondary. You were missing linemen, receiver. You were missing everybody, and you just got pummeled in the most embarrassing fashion, where Texas was running double reverse fakes, throwing it to the running back, and then he's just dancing to the end zone for 45 yards. So I think Miami and Texas, which are back-to-back games with a bye in between, but I think those are 2 games that are very early on that'll tell you what this team is. I think Miami will tell you where this team is mentally, and Texas will tell you where this team is just straight skill-wise.
Yeah, on the Ole Miss side of it, it's the LSU game in Oxford. You'll know right off. Ole Miss probably needs to be 6-0 whenever they head to Athens. If they do that, they're probably in position to be where they want to be, because you just have to go 2-2 against Georgia, Oklahoma, Florida, and South Carolina at that point. You're probably going to be all right. But 6-0 going to Athens is of the utmost importance. Ole Miss needs to perform well in Athens. Everybody remembers 2023. Jackson Dart got absolutely pummeled by that Georgia team that night. That happened. Everybody came into that game excited, walked out of that game deflated. And then there's the Florida game and the South Carolina game, games that Ole Miss is likely going to be favored in, but they were favored in the Florida game a year ago. I think that's going to be difficult. Now, the benefit of the Florida game this time, as opposed to last year, is it isn't right after the Georgia game, after the big game, after storming the field and all of that stuff. So there is a break. This year it's after the Citadel or something like that.
Is that not a juggernaut game you guys have on the schedule there?
Hey, man, the Citadel. I actually watched the game when Ed Orgeron was the coach at Ole Miss. I was the video coordinator at Ole Miss at that point. And I think it was 24-21 in the fourth quarter. And I was like, it really can't get any worse than this. And to this point, I haven't been proven wrong.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Citadel gave, I think it was Alabama, a run for their money in the first half a few years ago, at least, when Nick Saban was still the coach.
Yeah, that was when they were running the triple option, the military academies type stuff. And they don't quite, I don't think they do that anymore, but they run a little bit of what Wake Forest used to do with Jim Grobe. It's not quite that, but it's still a quirky offense if I'm not mistaken.
You got to be weird if you're bad.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So Florida just got a commitment from a Lakeland Dreadnought, and it is very rare that I get to talk to a Locked On host about the best nickname in all of sports, the Lakeland Dreadnoughts. How important is Lakeland to Florida? I know that when Urban Meyer was there was a class where like 6 players from Lakeland ended up going up there. How does it feel having Billy Napier getting back in that?
It feels good. I feel like Billy's done a great job of kind of reestablishing the brand, which I know, it's the Florida Gators in the state of Florida. They're always going to have a certain level of substance to them there. But I do think that reestablishing yourself, or even just straight up establishing yourself, like Florida had, the IMG curse, and now Florida's getting kids from there every year. Malik Morris is just a monster. Having Ahmad Black there as well is very helpful. He tweeted out practice clips of Malik Morris at running back, and Ahmad Black was like, look, he's not going to play running back, but like, this is the kind of dude that Florida's getting right now. And so having that connection is huge. I think that Billy's doing a great job of, first off, building this roster. I think they've done a fantastic job there, but also establishing the foothold that he said that he wanted to when he got hired. He was like, we want to set up, I think he said like a 500-mile radius, and that's going to be like our target there. And he's done a pretty good job, I think, of really hammering down and reestablishing the University of Florida with a lot of these high schools where Dan Mullen shot those reputations and relationships. And so Billy's had to work it back up, and he's been doing that.
Yeah, Dan Mullen is not a good recruiter, but Dan Mullen's uniform choices, primo. The stuff that Florida did with the alternates when Dan Mullen was the coach, phenomenal. And then Billy goes all black. At least it looks like last year that stopped. But my goodness, whenever you have potentially gorgeous uniforms like the University of Florida, to remove all color out of that and just go straight black, it's so weird to me, man.
I will say I get it. I kind of also liked him, though. I hated them because that was another game that I was at front row, and they lost. So that was another one. Lost to Arkansas, who at the time was 2-9. Yeah. So lost that game to Arkansas in overtime to KJ Jefferson, and that was just an awful performance. Maybe the worst coaching job Billy's had at the University of Florida. So it paired with the uniform, and I don't hate it, especially, with the intended cause of auction them off afterwards, and money goes to family of veterans. So I think that it kind of played into it, and it was a fun concept to try. Didn't do it last year. Who's to say if it's going to come back this year right now? But yeah, I get why people dislike them. I just, I kind of like the black with the orange highlight a little bit, but yeah, Florida uniforms, they're beautiful. So I get why people don't like the all black.
Yeah, the uniform that absolutely needs to come back. And if Billy Napier, if you're watching this podcast, if anybody on the Florida staff is watching this, bring back the Circle F white helmets and the blue jerseys. Oh my goodness, straight fire, a true throwback. That jersey needs to come back. I feel the same way about that one as when Ole Miss brought back the powder blue helmets and their old look from back in the day. It's fantastic. You don't have to go monochromatic on everything. Just deal with some of the stuff that has looked good in the past. And Florida and Ole Miss and schools with good colors, I'm not talking about A&M or Mississippi State, they have a catalog to fall back on of some really good looking stuff.
Yeah, I've always wanted them to get a little bit more creative with them. You don't got to get Oregon. Yeah. You don't have to be Oregon ridiculous. But I do wish that they would kind of open up the uniform combos a little bit and just break out a little one game a year. That's all I ask for. Just one game where you break out something throwback and just make it look nice again. You don't need to do 2017, the Gator skin uniform. You don't need to do that. Please don't, actually. Please. I think it could have been executed well. I just think that it was executed horribly.
Oh, my
And I would rather you just not try again, if I'm going to be honest. Like, you did it once, it went horribly. Just don't try to do it and make it worse. Just leave that one alone.
All right. So when we come back, we will get into the Ole Miss Florida game in November. We do our predictions very, very early about what's going on and what we expect to see for the Ole Miss Rebels versus the Florida Gators. Pretty good stuff. The pool guy showed up and the dog just decided this is a good time to lose my freaking mind. So Ole Miss is going to get to host Florida, and this is a weird rivalry. And Florida fans last year, it was fun. I had a lot of hate watches after the game and all of that stuff, but it's a weird rivalry because they haven't played very much. It's one of those weird things, like Vanderbilt has the leading record in the series against Texas, or Auburn and Vanderbilt are tied. It is one of those weird things. And Ole Miss and Florida, I think the record's right around 500, but they haven't even played 40 times. So the fan bases don't have the vitriol that, say, Ole Miss and Georgia, or especially the West-based teams, have with each other. It's kind of good to get that introduction, especially with divisions going away. And with Ole Miss and Florida potentially playing every other year, it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Especially, I'll be honest, like, especially if Lane's the coach. Like Lane's the type of coach where it's like, if he's your coach, you love him, right? Like, you love the attitude, you love the arrogance, you love the jokes that he makes. He's dialed it back. He's, matured a little bit as time's gone on. He's not so much, get your popcorn ready anymore. Not doing as much of that. But if he's not your coach, there are very few things you want to see your team do do more than beat Lane Kiffin. And so I think that's always fun. And the fan base always brings it up because Florida and Lane have had this like weird back and forth thing where last year, the fan base is just fire Billy, hire Lane, call it a day, give Lane the Florida resources, and you'll win a national championship in just a couple of years. And I think that, Billy beating Lane and Billy both being Saban guys. I think there's a lot of parallels right now that make this more fun than it's probably been in a long time. And the possibility of them playing more often makes it just that much better.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. The first time I saw Ole Miss in Florida play was actually in like 94, I think.
I wasn't born yet, so there's that.
Yeah. Steve Spurrier came to Oxford. That was that might have been Danny Werfel and Terry Dean and those guys. I went to the game as an Ole Miss fan, but I was also a closeted Florida fan back in the day. I was a huge fan of Steve Spurrier. He was one of my favorite guys in the business because of what he did to the Florida State and Tennessee and all of that stuff. But that game, they were really good. And I just wanted to see what really, really good football looked like at that point. And I've always had a soft spot for the Gators. Now, if Ole Miss is favored by 10 points in a game, I'm going to have total confidence that Ole Miss is going to win that game. But I have a soft spot for the Gators. And I think this game, Lane and Billy are friends. I mean, like legitimately friends. It's not like one of those Hugh Freeze friends with Lane Kiffin where they're not friends.
Yeah.
So one way or another, I don't think it's going to be a huge revenge game. I just think it's going to be a football game. And Ole Miss they have more talent than people realize, especially the people at media days always talking about what they lost and how do you replace that. And it's like, listen, the other guys played a lot too, and there was no drop off. I think this is going to be a good football game, but I am probably going to walk into this game with as much confidence as I did last year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'm picking Florida again. I'll tell you right now, I'm picking Florida again. Just again, this is one of those things where I said it last year before the game. I'll say it this year, like the parallel, especially of Billy and Lane, where so many Florida fans wanted Billy fired to hire Lane. I feel like that's a game where Billy's going to go into it like, I need to win this. Like, I have to win this game and prove the people wrong, which people aren't going to buy it anyway. Like, if you're the type where you're like, oh, hire Lane right now and fire Billy, that's not going to change just because of one game probably, right? But especially when people are like that group is just going to go, okay, well, Florida has higher ranked recruiting classes. So, they got more talent is going to be the thing they say. And they're just going to write off the whole coaching battle there. But I still think I'm going to go into this and pick Florida. Ole Miss is a team where they have lost a lot. Guys have played. And honestly, it's just with Austin Simmons specifically, I just want to see him on a larger sample size. And with DJ Lagway as well, I want to see him in a larger sample size. So I think right now it's just a lot of this season for both teams, honestly, is going to come down to quarterback play. And it's if they live up to the hype.
Yeah, and that could be seemingly every team in the conference not named LSU or Vanderbilt, if we're going to be honest about it, or South Carolina. Lenore Sellers is a good player as well. Because Alabama, a new guy, everybody that is predicted to win the conference is restarting a new quarterback. And if you do not get that right, ask Florida State how being preseason top 10 and your quarterback not working out, how that could go. Or ask Oklahoma when your offensive line, when you're replacing all those guys, how that can affect everything. This football season is going to be the most fun in recent memory because of the unknowns.
The only thing I hate is that now every Big 10 and Big 12 fan is going to see the almost definite chaos that's going to happen in the SEC. And every Big 10 and Big 12 fan is going to go, oh, this is the best conference. This is it. The one where Vanderbilt's beating Alabama 2 years in a row or whatever the hell they're going to say. And it's just like, this is still a team this is still a conference that is the best in college football regardless. But I do think that it's more open than it's been in a very long time this year.
Yeah, and this year specifically, I think if you ask me right now, Baylor is going to beat Auburn. If you ask me right now, Ohio State's going to beat Texas. If you ask me right now, Clemson's going to beat LSU.
Yep.
And that point right there is going to start the narrative that the the SEC is down.
Yep. My rebuttal to that will be, I'm not bought into LSU this year. I will never in my life be brought into Auburn, especially while Hugh Freeze is the head coach. And Ohio State's national champions. So if you win, especially early, more power to you. You're the defending national champs. You should win these games. Regardless of where I think Texas and Ohio State rank talent-wise. If Ohio State wins, that's going to be my answer, regardless of the result.
All right. So this has been the Locked On Ole Miss podcast and the Locked On Gators podcast. Thank you very much for joining us and tuning in. Do us a favor, give us a like, a subscribe, a comment down below. That would be great. But we want to say thank you very much for making us your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the Portal podcast. Brian Smith does an amazing job to keep you the most informed fan about the transfer portal and everything that's going on about college football. It's available wherever you get your podcast. And it is actually well worth your time. Brandon, you got anything going on? I know you're about to have a little bit of downtime.
We got all 4 wisdom teeth out. I've been telling my listeners, I'm like, look, I've been holding this off to get through this recruiting wave. And so we're talking about this season, this roster, and I think I'm buying into the hype train this year. I think I'm going to do it for Florida. I think they ball.
Spot the ball.
Yes, spot the effing ball. I'll say that one.
That's what Lane was saying to the South Carolina people that was doing that during the playoff discussion. Just put the ball down. We beat you by 4 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, people have been trolling Florida for Billy saying it and the rest of the team saying it. And it's like, I like it. Spot the ball.
What is he supposed to say? What is he supposed to say? It's one of those things. Yes, we have a hard schedule. Yes, it's going to be difficult. I like my team. Let's put the ball down and play. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I'll also say I think last year's schedule was harder than this year's. So you won 8 games in that one. I think you have a better team this year and a slightly easier schedule this year. So go. Yeah, spot the ball. Figure it out.
If they win 8 games, is that average? Is that expected? Is that a failure?
That's the minimum I will accept without calling for Billy Napier's job.
Okay.
If you win less than 8, I'm pounding the table for you to get fired.
Okay.
And Billy knows that. And Billy knows that.
Brandon Olsen from Locked On Gators. I'm Steven Willis from Locked On Ole Miss. Tune in for our shows in the mornings each and every single day. Thank you very much for making us your first listen, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care, Brandon.